All right, good evening once again. This is Chaplain Akisami Emmanuel. I thank God for yet another opportunity to have another chaplaincy class again today. I just want to talk about the chaplain's attitude towards crisis, his response to crisis in the area where he may find himself. Um, don't worry, son, I'm going to send you credit. Okay, no, you don't even have any, you don't have any way to do it. Thank you. Good night, son. So we'll look at the response of a chaplain to crisis again briefly tonight. If you look at the chaplain's assignment, in the first class we said a chaplain is regarded as a first responder. He responds to situations, emergencies. He is one of those that gets to the point of crisis, and sometimes it gets to the point of accidents. It could even be domestic. Okay, he gets there before any other person or so, and then he gives the prompt attention. And that's why the chaplain actually he gets the courses that he does. I was saying that yesterday when I was teaching in the dark now, that among the courses that the chaplain does is first aid in emergency, fire prevention and safety, the basic knowledge of the law in terms of fundamental human rights, litigation and chaplaincy. He also learns some things about the basic principles of biblical counseling. He also learned about the biblical basis for chaplaincy, and he is also trained in the aspect of drills, which helps his physical fitness, which is the PT, which they call it in the military. So all of these courses put together, even how to respond to depression, identifying the nature of depression, and then knowing how to respond. Family ecology is part of what he trains, in. He knows all of that because there are basic problems that come up in the family, and then he's expected to know how to respond to various situations. So you see, the job of a chaplain is just far beyond the uniform thing that our earlier brethren talked to us about. A chaplain, once again today, by way of revision, is a servant of God equipped with counseling skills and regimental discipline, okay, without carrying arms, and then he is totally dependent on the Holy Spirit. So if you look at that definition, we say again that a chaplain, is a servant, first of all, a servant of God, and then he has he's been equipped with counseling skills, and then he also has a regimental discipline or training. That's to say, we don't carry arms, so the uniform we wear is to help us to identify our rank and file, and at the same time to give us the esprit, the core spirit with other sister paramilitary agencies, the police, and then we act and serve as fathers to the military. Don't forget that we are their fathers, and so there's no room for competition with the police, with the the military, and then any of the paramilitary bodies. So we don't need to duplicate their jobs. They are constitutionally put in place to carry out those assignments. We are there as their eyes and their ears to help them to get the job done. So now in crisis, where I live in, an area here where I've seen crisis for close since 2001 till now. Between then and now, I have seen quite a number of crises. Not just seen, I've been involved in, almost all of them. All of them have been involved where I had to literally fight, or let me use the word, look for, fight for my life and that of my family and the church. I know what it means to stay without having my bath for a complete 1 week, 7 days. escaping my family to the backside of the town. I knew what we went through. It wasn't funny at all. I know what it meant when I saw human flesh being eaten up by, pigs on the road. And I know what it meant to see human beings being set ablaze because of, crisis. I also know what it means to see where religion, blindfolded people's eyes, and then ethnicity closed their minds, and they never were able to reason well. I've seen all of that. I've been on a hillocks and literally quelling the issues, the crisis in the city of Jos then. I remember one of the times when the STF commanders, one of them came around. I think I was together with him on one of the stands at Tina Junction in particular, where the boys, I think they shot towards his direction, and there was a celebration of bullets that day. I was right by his side. We had to, escape. The boys bailed us out of that place. So I've seen crisis. I've been in the midst of crisis. I'm not just telling you story or what I read from book. And I've also been involved in rescue operations where, identities of people where we have to identify who they were before we could take them to the police headquarters, from there to the Jos University Teaching Hospital, where literally we saw young men that, opened up people's stomach, and in the night some of them ran away from the hospital. I've seen quite a number of those things in those days. I've been in front of, where they shot at me from a distance. God helped me that day. And I've also been where, people were throwing all kinds of ammunitions to just hurt us in the place. And I've also been directly so closely involved. Thank God for the Nigerian Air Force, the former 330 NAF base, who came in to help me during one of the, you see now, that's the issue of the spirit they called now. They came in because they were coming from Sherry Hills. So I had to call them, wave them down, beg them to come in to assist us when they put fire in our church. My offices were burnt and the glasses, everything were broken that time. So I have been through the crisis. I just had to describe all of this, scenario for you to know that what I'm talking about is not just story or an allegory. I have been there. So I have seen quite a number of troubles in the city, and most of the time it starts little, it starts small. And for you to know that this thing is real, it's always started from just behind where we are the boundary with one another, and they always want to come to make their way through our entrance, which has always been a very strong fortified place that God has helped us, that they've not been able to penetrate into the main other side of where we stay. Now, that being said, so you can have a background of who is talking to you. It's not just telling you my book of Bible stories. Now, seeing that crises are real, let's take the scriptural part of it. The Bible in the book of John 16:33 says, "In the world you shall have tribulations, in me you have peace. But be of good cheer, I have overcome the world." Now, Jesus made it clear to us that we're going to have troubles in the world towards the end of the age. In 2 Timothy chapter 3, it says, "In the last days, perilous times shall come." In case you are there, you are up tonight, wherever you are in the part of the world, you can click the subscribe button, please, and then the notification, so that anytime I come up, you'll be able to see me. Now, Jesus said it, and Paul, writing to Timothy, said, "In the last days, perilous times shall come. Men shall be lovers of themselves rather than being lovers of God." Do you understand that? Now, and there will be haters all over the places. Whatever is happening today is a script that every one of the actors are only acting out. Now, we must be very careful as dwellers on the face of the earth to know that the world is actually about to destroy itself. The world is about to self-destruct. That's the truth. And because of that, we must be very careful. We must not allow ourselves to be ignorant of the plans of the devil. Now, as believers, chaplains, we're going to be found, we live in communities. Chaplains live in communities. And so we cannot pretend not to know what goes on in our community. Now, this is why, as a chaplain that is living in communities, you must learn crisis response strategies. One, identify the environment where you are and look at the things that are happening in that place, the possible things that could cause crisis in the areas where you live. And then you work towards how you can, make it easier and resolve this crisis. It could be because of maybe indigenous settlers problem, and just like we have in Nigeria today, the farmers and herders problem. The Fulanis from sub-Saharan Africa coming in the name of grazing routes and all of that, and then from there they settle down, eat up the farmers' stuff, and when the farmers' things are eaten up, they get agitated and then they fight, and that's it. Like one of the bad memories I have about the crisis in the Plateau State where I live is the death of my younger brother. He was killed by, the army. The soldiers actually killed him. I'm saying that very bluntly here because I never believed that could happen. They came around that day of the crisis, and they packed the people around. And then he was just coming from work. He didn't know, went to buy food, and they just accosted him and joined him together with the people. Before they knew, they started hit. I saw it. They were hitting them on the head and then their ribs, the chest, and all of that. Dangerous parts of their bodies. So thank you for coming in. I just pray that you just click the subscribe button. Now they hit him, and then he started. He came back home. I went to bill him the next day. By the time he came back home, he stayed one more week, and that was it. He died after that 1 week. Matthew Akisomi. He died last year. He died. No, he died 2 years ago. He died 2019, February, March, and so I have a bad memory of crisis. That's why I can say it openly that crisis. I didn't just say it. I experienced it. I paid for it. I didn't just lose Matthew Akinsami. I also lost my gardener. I lost him too. And it's very, very unfortunate. In the same week, a week like this, the other one died, was killed the next day by some of the other ethnic group. He was a General Boy. He was killed by the Hausa boys in that environment. So I've seen quite a number of it, and that's why we must know what are the possible things that causes problem in our community where we live. I have now found out that there's something about my own community where we stay. I have been studying it over the years, where the foreigners or those who come from outside stay in a place, and then Nigerian Constitution says we are free to operate, to live, and to do business in any part of Nigeria. But we know that we also know there are some restrictions and limitations. That does not mean that we can go there and just take over the place without permission of the place. So I have noticed that development of the environment is one of the things that I have taken as a major project, like digging of drainages. I did, I got involved in that, got the church into that. We do drainages, we repair the roads, and then we also get involved in food distribution. Now, things because we identify that poverty is another area that make people to get into crisis. Crisis is one of poverty causes crisis to easily come up. So I trusted God, and for some years now, we've been buying food and distributing. Another thing we got into, we found out again, is that ill health. Now, people get sick, and when they get sick, what happens is that they're agitated. So when people are poor, they're agitated, they're irritated, they're easily angered, provoked. So we do medical, we do food distribution. When we started our Chaplain Psychology of Health Technology, we do at the beginning, we also started with free medical outreach within the community, and then we also distribute food to the people. Up till date, we still do all of this. Now, the educational aspect of it is for us to be able to educate the people and contribute our quota. So these are things to get people busy so that their hands can be on deck and they will not think of crisis. But should in case it still happens, what do you do? Another crisis I've experienced is fire outbreak in the areas where I've lived, where literally everybody will come, oh, they keep shouting in our society. They will stand and be, hey, and all of that. Now, we are told and taught in fire prevention and safety, fire safety and prevention, literally two things we can do to prevent the fire from, getting too bad until the experts come in. I also got involved with that. I was able to, put the little I know in place, even though before we knew, after we thought we've finished everything, I didn't know that. A woman rushed to me and said, Pastor, there's still somebody inside the house. By the time I ran back into the place, using the knowledge they taught us, I already found the two young people roasted in the compound. Now, this happened in the days of storing fuel in our homes when there was fuel scarcity in the city of Jos. So I also noticed then that period, because of the scarcity of fuel, people were buying fuel in gallons and keeping at home. So you must identify what could cause the crisis in your life, in your community. When you know them, then you now begin to strategize and look for ways to deal with it. And if it is hunger, you look for how you can also help the people in the area. If it happens, then apart from being on the offensive, you got to be on the defensive. Do you understand? Be on the defensive. You fight back to kill the fire. Now, I've also seen cases where, bailiffs came into a man's house to remove him from his house because of bank loan and all of that. They went to a lower court to get, a victim paper. Meanwhile, a high court had restricted them from getting there. Because of the information I learned from chaplaincy, I stopped them. I called our chaplain lawyer, told them this is what's going on, and we stopped that situation that year. So there are quite a number of things you can do to forestall crisis in your community. And if it is husband and wife, children and parents, you can also help to do that by counseling with them so that they don't get into all of these troubles. Well, I think I've been able to open a little bit of crisis areas and what to do, so that you can begin to think as a chaplain, what can you do in your own area to forestall it? We're not talking about road accidents. I've been there in many cases where I've seen dead bodies on the road where they tied the man inside the Ghana must go. I had to open him up. Everybody was scared of going in because I'm a chaplain. I have my ID card. And so I called the assistant commissioner of police then, give me some people to come. There's a problem here. And they came and they took away the cuffs. Now, so many things. The boy wrote a letter, inside his bag, and then I think the police had investigations to do concerning that. So I have done that too. I've been involved in where blood was involved on our roads. I had to stop the vehicles, get the policemen to follow them to the hospital. Later we went there, we were able to, save one died. There are many things we can do in Nigeria, even though our ambulatory system is not really working well yet. Our toll lines are not really as effective as should be, but you can make sure that you will always have police somewhere around there. When you get involved in any crisis as a chaplain, once you've rescued the people, look around, get a police, hand over to the police, tell the police how much and how far you have gone, give your report to the police. This was when it happened, this was what happened, this was what happened, and then this was the action I've taken. And then you hand it over to the police, who is constitutionally given the right to do the report and take it over from there. Is that okay? Your ID card will always be with you to help at any point in time. God bless you. The number you can call in case you want to just talk about it is 0803-589-2801. We also run our chaplaincy courses now online. You can check on my Facebook page, and you can also check the number I've just called. The same number, the same name you see here on Facebook, you will see the information regarding our online courses. Except medical course, we can't do that online because you have to learn how to inject, you have to learn how to do several things physically. God be with you, and please click the subscribe button and the notification so that whenever we come on, you will see us. This is a third class we did in chaplaincy. Today is crisis response and your attitude as a chaplain. God bless you and good night.